Now then, back in East Africa, the first quarter of the year in the media business has been dominated by concerns about the effect of growing political and commercial censorship on the quality of content we get from local media houses. Now that notwithstanding, new firms are emerging to experiment not just with different ways of telling stories, but also in-depth investigative stories that established media houses either cannot or simply chosen not to do. Uncensored is one such startup set up by 4 journalists. Earlier on, I spoke to one of them, Allan Namu. Our conversation started by focusing on how to convince a market so used to getting news for free to start paying for it.
A few years ago, we'd need quite a bit of names behind us to be able to get to the point where we are just by starting out. So in terms of having platforms to broadcast on, that's really not the problem. I think the issue for me is being able to convince people that independent, in-depth journalism should and can be paid for and consistently be paid for if it is produced on a consistent basis. It's really a market pitch. If you looked at it from the point of view of being a salesperson of a soda can, it's really the same kind of pitch. Is my product something that is competitive enough to get people's eyeballs interested enough to get money out of their wallets?
Isn't that the main challenge you face? Because now you've got a whole bunch of young Kenyan kids who've grown up reading content essentially for free online, on Facebook, on Twitter, on newspaper website. And now here you are coming along and saying, look, good quality journalism isn't done for free. You've got to pay for it. What sort of reactions do you get?
So far we haven't charged anything. Like I said, we're playing with freemium right now. So for the most part, in the first maybe 1 or 2 years, a lot of our content is going to be free because we have to be able to build credibility. That's really what's going to be able to allow us to charge for our content later. We're under no illusion that that people do not like to pay, especially in this part of the world, do not like to pay for content. But if we are convincing enough in the kind of work that we're doing, we think that 2-3 years down the line, when the market is also as diverse and prepared for that kind of transaction, that we should be at that point able to get a large number of people to be able to pay for at least 50 to 60% of our cost as we move forward. So we're hoping that by the 5th year we should be able to pay for 100%.
Would it be fair for me to essentially argue that Vice is a model for how you're running and how you're setting up Uncensored?
Well, yes and no, because in a sense, yes, Vice has very, very diverse channels through which that it monetizes its content. But the thing about Vice was the kind of content that they started with was really exotica. It was really content that was so outrageous that you just had to watch it. We're more in the pocket of traditional investigative reporting that abides by the mores and the rules of journalism. So we will not be as out there as Vice. I don't think the continent needs that kind of journalism from us. I mean, maybe from other people. But playing with different storytelling models is something that I think also got Vice through the door and and gained them that kind of credibility. We definitely are going to be doing that, but not as out there as them. I think for me, looking at it from the point of view of a content creator, that's really what really made Vice. It was really the kind of content rather than the models through which they were monetized.